You know the feeling, that flickering, nauseating green light, the massive concrete walls, the sheer scale of the oppression that defines Hawkins National Laboratory. It feels like the ultimate fiction, right? A perfect 80s sci-fi nightmare designed purely for TV. But pull back the curtain for a second. Forget the Demogorgon. We're talking about the blueprints, the security protocols, the sheer ambition to hide ultra-secret operations from the public. Because the massive, unnerving truth is this: the US government perfected the architecture of compartmentalized secrets long before the Duffer Brothers ever wrote their first script. We are diving deep into the real-world centers of conspiracy, the silent, sprawling complexes hidden in plain sight, where mind control, interdimensional research, and radical energy experiments were allegedly conducted. These places didn't just inspire Hawkins Lab, they are Hawkins Lab, just without the upside-down gate. Today we trace the security clearances, the massive budgets, and the terrifying revelations that connect the fictional world of 11 to actual military compounds. Do you already suspect which real-life facility we're talking about? The one that perfectly matches the look and the terrifying premise? Drop your best theory about the inspiration for Hawkins Lab in the comments right now, because the deeper we go, the more classified the files get. Forget the mind flayer. Forget the Demogorgon. The scariest thing about Stranger Things isn't the upside down. It's how chillingly real the Hawkins National Laboratory feels. I mean, look at it. High fences, brutalist concrete architecture, guards who definitely don't smile, and an isolation so profound it screams, "We are doing things here the public should never know about." This isn't just set dressing. This security profile, this isolation, this entire vibe, it's copied directly from real, top-secret government facilities that have been operating right here in the US for decades. Let's start with the most obvious parallel, the isolation factor. Hawkins Lab is tucked away in rural Indiana, far from major population centers. Why? Because if you're testing experimental aircraft, chemical weapons, or say, children with telekinetic powers, you need a massive buffer zone. You need the kind of terrain that makes surveillance almost impossible. This is the exact blueprint for Area 51, or as the government officially calls it, Homey Airport or Groom Lake. It's nestled deep in the Nevada desert. You don't just stumble upon it. The perimeter isn't just chain link, it's sensor arrays, motion detectors, and warning signs that say, use of deadly force authorized. Hawkins Lab adopts this exact, terrifying ethos. The sheer distance is the first line of defense. The physical structure itself is designed to repel curiosity. Now let's talk about the actual building, the architecture of secrecy. Hawkins Lab isn't inviting. It's all concrete, right angles, and narrow windowless hallways. This isn't for aesthetics. It's classic Cold War brutalism, designed to be defensible, bomb-resistant, and crucially to keep the light out. Imagine the facility as an iceberg. You see the small official lobby where Joyce buyers might wait nervously, but that's just the tip. The real, terrifying infrastructure is miles beneath the surface, protected by layers of reinforced concrete, often thicker than the vault walls in Fort Knox. During the Cold War, the US poured billions into creating deep underground military bases. Places like the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, built inside a mountain, designed to withstand a nuclear blast. The entire facility rests on massive springs to absorb shock, making it an entirely self-contained city beneath the earth. When Dr. Brenner and his team descend those long, dark elevators in Hawkins, they are mirroring the operational structure of these real DUMBs. Secrecy is easier when you literally don't exist on a map, and radiation containment is non-negotiable when you're messing with things you don't understand. But the real, deep-cut inspiration for the core experiments, the psychic research, the sensory deprivation tanks, and the numbers on the children takes us out to the East Coast, to the alleged location of the infamous Montauk Project. The creators of Stranger Things originally titled the show Montauk. This entire storyline is heavily inspired by the persistent, dark legends surrounding Camp Hero in Montauk, New York. Camp Hero was a genuine Cold War radar station, now a state park. But look at the photos. The gigantic, deteriorating Sage radar dish sitting on the cliff edge looks exactly like the kind of abandoned government tech that could accidentally open a portal to another dimension. The conspiracy theory alleges that after the radar station closed, it became the site of top-secret government experiments involving time travel, mind control, and opening dimensional rifts. Sound familiar? E tem mais detalhe que você não imagina. The psychological experiments conducted on 11 and the other children? That's a direct reference to Project MKUltra. This was a very real, highly controversial CIA program, active from the 1950s to the 1970s, designed to develop techniques for mind control, interrogation, and psychological warfare. They explored everything from hypnosis to administering massive doses of hallucinogens like LSD to unsuspecting subjects. While the CIA didn't create a telekinetic girl named 11, the goal was the same: unlocking and weaponizing the untapped potential of the human mind, regardless of the ethical cost. Dr. Brenner's cold, calculated approach to manipulation is the fictional embodiment of the ruthless scientists who ran MKUltra. They saw people not as patients or subjects, but as tools. If you are already sitting there thinking, wow, I had no idea the government was this secretive, then you need to hit that like button right now and subscribe, because we dive into these real-world mysteries every single week. Let me know in the comments, which secret facility do you think inspired Hawkins the most? Now here's the plot twist you won't hear in a casual fan theory: the sheer cost. The facilities we've discussed, Area 51, Cheyenne Mountain, the various locations tied to MKUltra, were funded through what are called black projects. These are military or intelligence operations that are deliberately kept secret and funded through classified budgets. They are completely untraceable by the public and Congress. This is why Hawkins Lab can operate with impunity. It doesn't answer to anyone. It exists in a budgetary black hole, allowing it to spend staggering amounts of money on seemingly mundane things like massive power generators and sensory deprivation tanks, all while maintaining the absolute highest level of security. In the real world, the black budget can run into the tens of billions of dollars annually. We know about the existence of these funds, but we never know the specifics of what they fund. And that is the ultimate security measure. Not the fence, not the guards, but the complete lack of public transparency. Hawkins Lab is a fictional amalgamation of America's deepest, darkest Cold War secrets. It's the paranoia of Area 51, the psychological cruelty of MKUltra, and the architectural isolation of Camp Hero, all rolled into one terrifying concrete bunker. It proves that sometimes the most unsettling monsters aren't from another dimension, but are created right here on Earth by us. The idea that a secret government lab could house a little girl with telekinetic powers and open a portal to another dimension sounds like pure 80s sci-fi fantasy, right? But the Duffer Brothers, the creators of Stranger Things, weren't pulling these concepts out of thin air. They were drawing heavily from a well of real-life documented and absolutely terrifying government programs. If you look closely at Hawkins National Laboratory, especially that brutalist, almost Soviet-style architecture, it's not just a set design choice. It is the spitting image of Camp Hero in Montauk, Long Island. Camp Hero is the undisputed original inspiration for the show. Back in the 70s and 80s, Montauk was the site of an abandoned military installation, complete with a massive, eerie radar dish that looks like something pulled straight from the upside down. Locals reported odd activity, strange vanishings, and whispers of mind control experiments, all fueled by a specific conspiracy theory called the Montauk Project. Now, the Montauk Project itself is a deep rabbit hole of alleged time travel and extraterrestrial contact, but it was built on a very real and very dark foundation. Project MKUltra. Imagine the Cold War. The fear wasn't just nuclear bombs. The fear was that the enemy, the Soviets, had figured out how to control your mind. The CIA was obsessed with this idea, and Project MKUltra was their secret, decades-long attempt to develop techniques for interrogation, mind control, and even cultivating psychic abilities. This is where 11, or L, comes in. Her origin story: being raised in isolation, being given a number instead of a name, and being forced to use her mental abilities for espionage. That is the fiction mirroring the horrifying reality of what the US government was trying to achieve. They weren't just using sensory deprivation tanks like the ones L uses to reach the void. They were using high doses of psychoactive drugs, including LSD, on unwitting participants, patients in hospitals, prisoners, and even everyday citizens. And the secrecy surrounding these operations. That brings us to the architecture of paranoia. Think about Hawkins Lab. It's isolated, surrounded by woods, and the only people who know what's inside are those with Level 5 clearance. This is the blueprint for real-world facilities like the Nevada test site, home to the infamous Area 51. The security isn't just barbed wire and guards. It's layered. First, you have the external visual deterrence. the signs, the high fences. But then you hit the electronic layer, surveillance cameras, ground sensors that detect movement miles away, and airspace restricted by military jets. You couldn't even fly a drone over Hawkins Lab without triggering a major military response, and that's exactly how places like Area 51 function. The sheer scale and isolation are part of the security protocol. They don't want you to just stay out. They want you to forget the place even exists. But there's one aspect of Hawkins Lab's design that is particularly chilling and ties directly back to real black sites, the underground structures. In Stranger Things, the gate to the Upside Down is deep below the surface, protected by layers of concrete and steel. Real US military research centers often follow a similar pattern. Take, for example, the deep underground facilities built during the Cold War, often designed to withstand a nuclear strike. These sites, known as DUMBs, deep underground military bases, are vast complexes, sometimes spanning dozens of miles, built for continuity of government or, more relevant to our topic, for classified research that literally cannot see the light of day. Imagine trying to contain something truly catastrophic, like a breach of biological warfare agents or, a monster from another dimension. You wouldn't do it in a flimsy warehouse. You need reinforced concrete that goes down hundreds of feet. In the 1960s and 70s, the US government was pouring billions into these secure subterranean complexes. The idea was that if the experiment went wrong, you could seal it off, bury it, and pretend it never happened. And there's one more detail you can't imagine about the real MKUltra experiments that makes Hawkins Lab feel truly plausible. While the show focuses on 11's powers, the true horror of MKUltra wasn't the success of the psychic abilities. It was the failure and the subsequent cover-up. In 1973, when the public started asking questions, the CIA director, Richard Helms, ordered the destruction of almost all MKUltra files. Think about that. A government agency actively destroying decades of documentation on human experimentation. If you were a test subject, or if something went wrong, a monster was unleashed, a dimension was opened, the official record would simply cease to exist. That level of institutional denial and erasure is the invisible wall protecting Hawkins Lab. It's not just the guards, it's the power of the government to make reality disappear. If you're finding this deep dive into government secrets as mind-blowing as I am, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. We explore the real-world mysteries behind your favorite fiction every week. Tell me in the comments below, which real-life facility do you think the Duffer Brothers should explore next? Now let's talk about the specific character who personifies this historical paranoia, Dr. Brenner. And the uncanny resemblance isn't accidental. The Duffer Brothers, creators of Stranger Things, were initially inspired by a terrifying real-world rumor, the Montauk Project. Montauk, Long Island. It's a beautiful, windswept coastal town, but hidden beneath the sandy dunes sits Camp Hero, an abandoned military installation. Now officially, Camp Hero was a decommissioned Air Force radar station built during the Cold War. Its purpose? To watch for Soviet attacks. But local legends, the whispers that fueled the show's premise, say the massive concrete structures and the gargantuan radar dish were just a cover. They claim that Camp Hero was the epicenter of government psychological experiments, time travel research, and even attempts at interdimensional communication. Sound familiar? Think about the architecture of Hawkins Lab. It's brutalist, cold and imposing, all concrete and sharp angles. That's the exact aesthetic of these abandoned Cold War bunkers. They weren't designed to be inviting. They were designed to be impenetrable and forgettable. If you've ever seen photos of the Montauk site, you see the same thick reinforced walls, the same limited windows, all designed to contain not just secrets, but potentially volatile energy. But the physical location is only half the equation. To truly understand the horror of Hawkins, we have to look at the motivation behind Dr. Brenner's experiments on 11. And for that, we turn to one of the darkest chapters in US history, Project MKUltra. MKUltra was a real, documented, and absolutely terrifying CIA program, active from the 1950s through the 1970s. Its core goal was mind control. They weren't looking for psychic powers, but they were definitely trying to break the human mind and rebuild it for espionage purposes. They experimented with extreme sensory deprivation, just like 11 in the isolation tank, and massive doses of psychedelic drugs, often on unsuspecting victims. The goal was to erase memory, implant new commands, and create a Manchurian candidate. While we don't have documented proof they were looking for telekinesis, the historical context of a government agency deliberately isolating and inflicting psychological trauma on subjects, including children in some cases, provides the chilling, ethical blueprint for the entire Hawkins operation. Now let's talk security. Hawkins Lab is remote, surrounded by woods, and requires high-level clearance to even approach the fences. This mirrors the most notorious secret base in America, Area 51, officially known as Homey Airport or Groom Lake. What makes these real facilities so effective at keeping secrets isn't just the guards, it's the isolation. Imagine trying to perform complex, ethically questionable research in the middle of a bustling city. Impossible. Secrecy demands distance. Area 51 is located in the Nevada desert, hundreds of miles from any major population center. Its perimeter is vast, patrolled by highly specialized security known as camo dudes. But the real defense is the land itself. If you try to hike in, the sheer logistics of water, heat, and distance will stop you long before the armed guards do. It's a masterclass in using geography as a weapon. And here's the plot twist that connects the dots. While MKUltra was focused on internal mind manipulation, the government did spend millions of dollars looking for legitimate psychic abilities. It was called the Stargate Project. Yes, the Stargate Project was a real federally funded effort, run by the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, to explore psychic phenomena like remote viewing. They were actively trying to train people to mentally see classified locations behind the Iron Curtain. While the results were officially deemed inconclusive and the project was shut down in 1995, the mere fact that the U.S. government took the idea of psychic spies seriously enough to pour 2 decades and $20 million into it shows that the basic premise of Hawkins Lab, a race to weaponize the mind, was very much a reality of the Cold War. But what if these experiments never truly stopped? The official story is that Camp Hero is a state park. MKUltra was decommissioned. Stargate was closed. But the need for absolute secrecy in military and intelligence research hasn't gone away. Today, the experiments aren't happening in visible concrete bunkers. They're happening in labs that are often unmarked, integrated into standard university research, or buried deep beneath existing military bases, cloaked not by remoteness, but by bureaucracy and layers of classification. Imagine the upside down isn't another dimension, but simply the deepest, darkest level of classification, a place where the rules of ethics and oversight simply don't apply. We only ever see the surface level of these operations. The true Hawkins labs are still out there, possibly right under our noses, conducting research that we won't know about for 30 or 40 years, if ever. The only difference is that now they're better at hiding the gate. If you were absolutely blown away by the real history that inspired the show, hit that like button and comment below. Which real-life facility, Montauk, Area 51, or the MKUltra experiments, do you think is the scariest? And to uncover more truths the history books left out, make sure you subscribe, because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are absolutely real.